Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission here, as always, is to take the sources you send us, and today we have some really fascinating narrative excerpts and just pull out the essential knowledge, the insights, all those aha moments you need. And today we're strapping in for, I guess, a really emotional deep dive. We're talking less about geopolitics, more about the very human landscape of love, loss, and self-discovery.
We really are. The sources today, they're all centered around alphabet weekends. It's just this compelling psychological case study. This isn't just a simple rom-com plot.
No?
It's an examination of how we fundamentally redefine love, how we confront these really deep-seated truths about ourselves, and, manage the emotional fallout when life just forces us way outside our comfort zones.
Right.
And what's so interesting here is that the material tracks three intertwined stories within one family. So it really shows that no emotional crisis happens in a vacuum. We're watching this structured game play out against a backdrop of really high-stakes events. Well, a medical emergency, financial ruin, all these things that force this internal emotional reckoning.
That's right. And at the heart of this dive is a woman named Natalie. She's navigating the wreckage of a 6-year relationship with a man named Simon.
And it imploded.
It completely imploded because he just refused to commit. And the ultimate insult. Instead of an engagement ring, he offers her a trip to the Maldives, an au revoir, with a question mark.
Oh, the question mark is just
And
brutal.
it just didn't even begin to cover it. So now, enter Tom, her best friend, the guy who's been her rock since they were kids. He sees her pain, and he decides to act. He challenges her to this alphabet weekends game.
It's such a beautifully simple but also radical concept. It's
Yeah.
this intentional letter-by-letter journey designed to break her inertia, to get her out of that emotional rut so she can, and these are his words, find out what you're missing, and most importantly, fall for me.
So our mission statement for you, the listener, is this. We are going to analyze the mechanics of profound emotional change. We're looking at what actually causes a shift in these deep-rooted platonic bonds.
Yeah, how do you go from 20 years of comfortable friendship to, real lasting romantic love?
And crucially, we're going to examine how these intentional external challenges, like this alphabet game, expose the internal truths of long-term relationships and really of self-worth. This dive is fundamentally a study in intentionality versus inertia. Okay, so let's unpack this setup. Because Natalie's history with Simon isn't just a breakup, it's like a full-blown existential crisis for her.
It is. 6 years of her life, invested in this man who the source material paints as, infuriatingly arrogant and self-absorbed. She really believed her life's trajectory was set. Marriage, the whole thing.
And he just balked.
That refusal to commit is so key because it was rooted in Simon's just, completely self-serving nature. That au revoir trip to the Maldives. Her own father, Nicholas, he calls it out. It was a low-effort way for Simon to feel generous while taking zero responsibility.
Which left Natalie feeling like a complete failure.
Utterly. Consumed by shame. She was convinced that no one wants me. I mean, so much so that she couldn't even tell her family about the breakup at Christmas.
And that's the vacuum. That's the moment Tom sees his opening. He recognizes she's ready, or I guess desperately needs an intervention.
And he's so uniquely positioned for it, isn't he? He's not some new crush. He's her ultimate safety net. He's known her since childhood. He was there after a messy college breakup.
Right.
And the material reveals this one little moment in their past when she was 19 where he gave her this singular light kiss while she was vulnerable.
A moment of unspoken possibility.
Exactly. That was immediately shelved under platonic context. And that phrase, platonic context, that's critical. For 20 years, their relationship was just comfortable predictability. Tom was the supportive confidant, the reliable presence.
So she never had to confront what more he could be.
Never. And Tom understands this. He knows that comfort is now the biggest obstacle. He has to shatter that context.
And the intervention itself, it's just beautifully dramatic. It's New Year's Eve, crowded pub. Natalie, fueled by schnapps and despair, just drunkenly proposes to Tom. It's a total cry for help, disguised as a joke.
But he doesn't dismiss it.
Yeah.
He processes it. And the very next day, he decides to act on it. He's taking her raw, vulnerable impulse and turning it into a structured, rational pursuit.
And the game is launched. Alphabet weekends, an activity for every letter.
Spanning several months. And Tom's goal is incredibly transparent. He wants to disrupt her rut so profoundly that she finds out what she's missing and, falls for him. It's strategic love.
So when we say his strategy is one of intentionality, what does that actually look like? How is he trying to sabotage that 20-year best friend thing?
It's all about leveraging novelty and shared stress. Tom knows their history made them invisible to each other as romantic partners.
Right, too familiar.
Exactly. So to generate new chemistry, you need high stakes, shared emotional experiences that are w new.
Yeah.
He's forcing them into situations where their old roles, Natalie the damsel, Tom the knight, are basically useless,
They have to rely on each other in new ways.
or compete, or just see each other struggle.
Mm.
He's deliberately creating a new context where romantic potential can actually flourish, because that old platonic one was just so strong.
But Natalie is, I mean, she's completely skeptical,
Oh,
right?
totally.
She tells him, 20 years we'd know by now. And she falls back on these cynical generalizations, even that really crude one about what men need.
Right, just need tits. She's trying to reduce it to something predictable, something manageable. She's using cynicism like armor to protect herself from the terrifying idea that she might have missed the love of her life hiding in plain sight.
But Tom he doesn't let her.
He challenges her head-on. He insists maybe one of us thinks there is. And that one line, it just moves the whole dynamic from a drunken joke to a genuine proposition. It forces her to take it seriously.
And the timing is it's paramount. Natalie herself says she has nothing better to do with your life in the next couple of months.
That's it. Her emotional availability is the engine of the whole game. If she'd been happy or fulfilled, she never would have agreed to this. And that's a powerful lesson for you listening. Profound personal change often requires a preceding crisis. That vacuum, plus Tom's initiative,
Yeah.
that's the fuel. He struck while the emotional iron was cold and ready to be reforged.
Okay, so phase one is it's pure shock therapy. It is designed to completely dismantle Natalie's idea of her own limitations.
And it's mostly chosen by Tom to test her mettle, right? This isn't about bonding over wine. This is about shared survival. It's about establishing mutual trust and, frankly, proving to Natalie that she is stronger than the shame Simon left her with.
You have to establish that baseline before any real intimacy can happen.
Exactly.
Which brings us to A for abseiling, the high-stakes kickoff. On Dartmoor, there's a rustic bunkhouse, wetsuits, this terrifying descent. She's basically hanging over thin air, and she is furious.
Oh, she's screaming at him like a navvy.
It's-
She compares it to a painful childhood memory of him making her jump off a high diving board.
But Tom confronts her anger, doesn't he? He reframes it.
He does. He tells her the difference between don't want to and aren't capable of. He's teaching her this crucial psychological lesson. Her fear is rooted in self-doubt, not actual inability. He says very pointedly, I know you're capable of a lot of things that you don't think you are. He's being her coach.
Pushing her past her own self-imposed boundaries, and the payoff is huge.
Huge. Once she hits the bottom, she's as high as a kite, just repeating, how cool am I?
He delivered this validated sense of strength she could never have gotten just sitting at home mourning Simon.
Right. The physical challenge created an emotional reward. Classic example of how structured stress fosters growth.
Then we get to C for canoeing, specifically the Eskimo role. And this is where it gets really interesting because the power dynamics start to shift.
They really do. Natalie, who always sees herself as the vulnerable one, she's cautious and she actually excels. She keeps her balance. Tom, the confident, athletic one, he struggles.
This is pivotal, isn't it, for breaking that rescuer damsel dynamic?
Absolutely. He keeps trying to go too fast and trying to muscle through it, and he just rolls under, coming up splashing and spluttering, looking like a seal in shock.
That image is fantastic, a seal in shock. Why is that specific detail so important?
Because it forces Natalie to laugh at him, not just rely on him. She realizes she's whipped his arse at something. And that single moment, it shifts their relationship away from this sort of patronizing pity he had for her post-breakup and towards mutual respect and fun, with a little dash of gentle superiority on her part. Romance can be built on mutual respect. It can't be built if one person is eternally reliant on the other.
So next up is a really critical test of her autonomy, E for equine. Tom suggests horse riding.
And Natalie draws a hard line. She has this deep-seated childhood trauma a mare landed on her, and Tom tries to push her, suggesting she conquer this inner demon.
And her refusal it's arguably as important as her success with the abseiling.
I think it is. She rejects this idea of forced therapeutic conquest. She says she's quite happy with my inner demon, thanks very much. This is a huge moment. It establishes her autonomy within Tom's game.
She's saying, I'm open to change, but I dictate the terms of my own recovery.
Precisely. Tom is a guide, not a dictator. If he pushed past that limit, the whole thing would collapse into the kind of condescending relationship she just escaped with Simon.
She does get her playful revenge later, though. N for nemesis. at Alton Towers.
Yes. She hates roller coasters, so she forces Tom onto the front seat, just reveling in his misery and nausea. It shows her streak of malice.
Which Tom just kind of tolerates, right? He understands it's part of balancing the emotional books between them.
It adds this playfulness, this emotional honesty. They're not hiding their competitive or even their slightly malicious sides from each other anymore. They're seeing the full person.
And finally, there's R for rock climbing. This one reveals a new side to her, a self-driven growth outside of Tom's direct influence.
It's a massive shift. Tom finds out she secretly took 3 private lessons with an instructor, a guy named Thaddeus. She was practicing for R on her own time,
Right.
reaching her highest point ever.
So she's not just doing it to prove something to Tom.
No, it's intrinsically rewarding for her.
Yeah.
And that is the necessary step before you can be ready for a healthy relationship. She had to learn to rely on her own capacity for greatness before she could really accept love from someone else.
Okay, so phase 1 was all about shock, about conquering these external limits. Now that Natalie has proven she can grow, the activities, they shift dramatically.
They do. Phase 2 moves away from the purely physical challenges and into tests of relational compatibility, emotional proximity. The activities become less about what they do and more about who they are together. The stakes get a lot higher here.
Tom transitions from coach to potential partner.
Exactly. He's now looking for hard compatibility markers. How does she fit into his world? How do they navigate intimacy? And does she recognize what she actually values in life and love?
Which brings us to FF for family get-together, specifically Tom's cousin's wedding. Natalie goes as his date.
And she fits in immediately with his whole family. Tom observes that she's an irresistible comfort read. He just notes simply she fit.
That phrase, she fit, is so profound.
It is. Family acceptance grounds the relationship in reality. It's the complete opposite of her secret, dramatic, destabilizing thing with Simon. It signals a stability and an ease that lets Tom see a future with her.
And then there's the dance.
The close, sexy dance. That's when they both acknowledge the physical shift. The barrier between friend and lover is now officially permeable. It's been confirmed by their social circle and their own bodies.
Okay, G is for Gone with the Wind, a 5-hour epic watch party.
Yes, and Tom brings all the comfort foodtizer, a Terry's chocolate orange. This leads to this deep discussion contrasting the volatile, explosive chemistry of Scarlett and Rhett with the trap of being in love with love, which is Scarlett's obsession with Ashley Wilkes.
So this is basically the philosophical core of her emotional growth.
It is. Tom is actively challenging her pattern of chasing the unavailable, idealized Ashley, who's it so clearly Simon, instead of recognizing the enduring, grounded, available Rhett, which is Tom.
And Natalie confesses, right, that her long relationship with Simon was spoiled, even if he came back. She realized she'd been sacrificing her own choices for years.
Was waiting for the fantasy of being Simon's wife. They're using the movie as this clear external metaphor to dissect her past relational failures. Tom is not letting her hide.
So he challenges her life's meaning. And his next move, J for Job swap, reinforces this.
It forces this professional self-reflection. Tom is exposed to her boss, Mike Sweet, this absurdly vain man who thinks he's an A-lister.
Wait, the boss who wears thong briefs?
The very one.
And Natalie put up with that for years. That just shows the extent of her inertia.
It really does. And Natalie has this devastating realization. She's settled in her career because she was just waiting to give it all up and be Simon's wife. She says, "My life has no meaning." This is what finally motivates her to apply for a better job. This activity provides the internal push for her own personal restructuring. It makes her a partner worthy of Tom, not just a project for him to fix.
The emotional escalation just keeps coming. H for hotel, a disastrous pampering trip to a health farm.
Oh, Tom is hilariously uncomfortable. He's complaining about the shorty dressing gowns, the pretentious atmosphere.
That's the perfect incubator for awkward intimacy.
It is. The hydrotherapy pool. Tom is just watching her with this palpable desire. And it leads to their first mutual physical acknowledgement. Natalie, who's a bit tipsy on contraband Jack Daniels, initiates a kiss.
But Tom restrains himself. Now, isn't that a bad move for chemistry? Doesn't that just shove them back in the friend zone?
You'd think so, but that's the crux of Tom's intentionality. His restraint is actually necessary for the long-term success of the relationship. He's turned on, he's frustrated, but he absolutely refuses to let their 20-year bond turn into some drunken rebound fling.
Which would be the easy way out for both of them.
The easiest. He knows true love has to be built on clarity and intention, not volatility. And he knows this because he has a past. He confesses he fell intensely in love once before.
With a woman named Frankie.
Yes. He describes it as electrical therapy, mind-altering, violent in its intensity. It was explosive passion, but it was completely unsustainable. He was actually relieved when she left. He felt saved.
So that's the context for his caution with Natalie. He's defining love not as a rush, but as something steady, shared context, believing in the other person's future.
Precisely.
Okay, moving on to K for kids. They borrow his niece and nephew, which forces them into this pseudo-parental role.
And this activity just strips away the artifice of the game. They see how they function under the stress of just routine, caring for others. Tom's Pied Piper-esque charm with the kids is attractive to Natalie, and Tom gets to evaluate her maternal skills.
And the outside world confirms the shift. The little girl, Bella, just asks, "Are you Uncle Tom's girlfriend?"
And just like that, they're publicly moving beyond friendship.
Next, L for Lovies, a rap party.
This is a deliberate test of insecurity. Natalie feels ungroomed, anonymous, and she sees Tom flirting with a waitress.
Which triggers intense possessiveness, and her sister, Susanna, calls it out instantly. The classic, "I don't want him, but I'm darned if anybody else is going to have him." This confirms her feelings are real, they're competitive, and they go way beyond just platonic affection. Jealousy forces her to recognize her own desire. Which leads right into M for meeting new people. Speed dating. This feels almost cruel.
It is. It's Tom's final attempt to force her to seek alternatives, but really he's just gauging her jealousy. Natalie's furious, questioning why he put down this woman, Eve, who reminded him of Mariah Carey, on his shortlist.
He's weaponizing her insecurity.
Pushing her right to the edge, and his response just seals it. He admits, "I bloody loved it when she got jealous." The M weekend isn't about finding her a date, it's about making her face her feelings for him.
There's a quick, funny break with O for opera, Wagner's Ring Cycle.
Yes. Tom bought the tickets partly for revenge after Alton Towers, but he realizes 5 hours of fat women wailing is too much self-sabotage, especially since he'd have to sit through it too.
So they bail and go to McDonald's.
That cancellation is so important. It shows them prioritizing shared fun over forced cultural experience or revenge. They choose connection over cultural elitism. It's a moment of necessary compromise.
Then finally, P for Paris, Natalie's birthday, the ultimate romantic setting.
And she reveals a hidden talent. She's fluent in French. Tom spoils her with a Cartier watch, with the letter D etched on the strap.
For deep dive, perhaps?
Or darling, let's hope. This moment is the peak of their relational tension. They have this silent, intimate moment at dinner near Notre Dame, and Tom pulls away from the kiss. Again.
He's waiting for her to choose him, soberly and intentionally.
Exactly. The moment is broken by a passing taxi's headlights, saving them from an unplanned plunge into intimacy. They needed the clarity that only the final phases of the game could bring.
Okay, so while Natalie is going through this whole alphabet game, we have to shift focus to the very serious parallel events happening with her parents, Anna and Nicholas.
We do. This crisis is essential context. It informs Natalie's own deepest fears about vulnerability and abandonment in long-term relationships.
It serves two purposes, really. First, it's a realistic 40-year benchmark for marriage.
And second, it forces Natalie and her sisters to recognize that the emotional rock of their family is actually fragile, which in turn accelerates Natalie's own personal growth.
So Anna's depression, it's triggered by a cancer scare, which thankfully turned out to be a cyst, but the scare was enough to completely destabilize her.
On New Year's Eve, Nicholas finds her crying. She retreats into herself for months. And eventually she confesses this terrifying truth that she feels, "I'm nothing."
It's a crisis of identity, not just health.
It really is. The source material gives us this deep dive into her history. Her life was meticulously built on this immaculate routine. Washing on Monday, ironing on Tuesday, shopping on Thursday. This rigid schedule was her armor.
So when the family got prosperous and the kids left, that very simplicity that she thought was her foundation, it just vanished.
Exactly. The modern prosperity brought complications or mud she hadn't anticipated. The loss of her routine stripped her of her purpose. She was defined by doing things meticulously. When there were no more pressing tasks, she realized she lacked an internal definition of self-worth.
Nicholas later tells Natalie the full extent of it. Anna is clinically depressed on medication and just consumed by shame. She feels like she's letting me down.
And Nicholas is suffering right alongside her. He feels completely invisible, especially because of his age and retirement. There's that really poignant story where he offers his bus seat to a younger woman who refuses, implying he needs it more. He saw it as a bloody insult.
His loss of external relevance mirrors her internal collapse. He says he misses the simple female sound at home.
In a desperate attempt to help, he takes her on a trip. But the real crisis hits shortly after Natalie's Paris trip. Nicholas has a massive stroke.
This is the unplanned, high-stakes event that just shatters the inertia of their marriage.
The family rallies, and the stroke forces this dramatic role reversal. Nicholas is physically diminished. He can only grunt and listen. And Anna suddenly begins her slow recovery by focusing entirely on his care.
This is the therapeutic intervention she needed.
Desperately, she finds profound purpose and self-worth again in being the reliable, unflinching caregiver. And Nicholas, even though he's physically limited, he feels focused. He's just glad they're having happy times again. His stroke, ironically, saved Anna by giving her this profound external focus.
And Anna has this breakthrough. She tells Natalie she's finally realized that being aware of all the things I missed out on was a part of feeling better.
And she confirms her mature love for Nicholas because, as she says, she can't imagine a life without him in it. And that is the gold standard of mature love in these sources. It's the stark contrast to Simon's self-serving desire. Anna's journey shows that stability isn't complacency, as long as your partner can show up unflinchingly during the toughest moments.
So if Anna and Nicholas's crisis confirm the strength of their 40-year bond, then Lucy and Patrick, they serve as the crucial cautionary tale.
They really do. Lucy is Tom's sister-in-law and Natalie's friend, and her marriage to Patrick just implodes under different but equally intense pressure: financial loss, emotional withdrawal, and infidelity.
It's a crucial counterpoint. While Natalie is intentionally leaving her comfort zone to find connection, Lucy is trying to escape hers through destructive denial and external validation.
Patrick's crisis starts when he loses his job. It strips away his whole identity as the provider. The material makes it clear this wasn't just financial for him, it was existential. He became withdrawn, paralyzed by this feeling of emasculation, and refused to let Lucy help. He was afraid she'd undermine him.
So he saw their relationship as a rescue mission.
Fundamentally, he swooped in after Bella's biological father abandoned her, and he wanted to always be the protector. When he lost his job, his ability to protect and provide vanished, and his whole identity destabilized. Lucy just sees it as self-pity. He can't engage with her as an equal partner.
And Lucy's reaction is infidelity. With Alec, who's Patrick's friend and married to her friend Marianne.
She's chasing the volatile passion that stability seemed to have negated. She admitted she sometimes wished Patrick would be rougher, hinting at this deep yearning for a passion his protective nature excluded. The affair is deliberately high risk.
They're meeting in the woods during a kid's party.
She finds herself dizzy with desire whenever Alec just tells her he wants her. It's a hunger for validation that Patrick's withdrawal left painfully empty.
The crisis comes to a head. Patrick suspects something. He catches them in this highly charged, silent moment in the kitchen.
The atmosphere was solid, tangible, and charged. Lucy confesses later, telling Patrick she doesn't need rescuing anymore, which is all he still wanted to be.
That's her moment of painful truth.
It is. She recognizes she's matured beyond the needy girl he married, but he failed to evolve with her. The tragedy is that her self-realization comes at the cost of total destruction. They both denied the erosion of their relationship until it was way too late.
Meanwhile, Alec makes his choice. He stays with his wife, Marianne.
He chooses stability, the mother of my children and the maker of my home. He admits, I love you both, but he can't leave his past. It's this brilliant contrast between passionate connection and rooted partnership. He makes a practical choice and he leaves Lucy stranded.
The aftermath is just heartbreaking. Lucy's alone. Patrick is humiliated, camping at Tom's flat, tortured by the fact that Bella isn't his biological child, and just the injustice of it all.
And Lucy realizes she's trashed everything, but she finds Patrick's refusal to fight for her. He never asks her to stay, to be the most devastating part. His inaction just confirms for her that he still saw her as someone to be protected, not fought for as an equal. The whole story just proves that running from inertia without intentional self-knowledge only leads to catastrophe.
Okay, so with both of those family crises raging in the background, Natalie now has to make her ultimate choice. The comfortable, self-absorbed past with Simon, or the unpredictable, loving future with Tom.
This is the moment. This is where she has to show that she learned the hard lessons of the past 34 weeks. She has to apply the strength and autonomy she discovered.
And S for Simon is the ultimate test. After all her self-improvement, Simon comes back. He asks her to marry him, but his terms are, as long as I have what I want, which is you back.
It's a test of her maturity, isn't it? Simon hasn't changed. His desire is entirely self-serving. He's offering her the exact idealized fantasy she clung to for 6 years, right at the moment she's starting to understand what real partnership is.
It's a high-stakes temptation. She goes to meet him, shaves her legs, wears the matching black lingerie, tells herself everyone deserves a second chance. They have sex.
The fantasy is fulfilled. But the next morning, as she's lying hungover on the chaise longue, she sees the brutal reality.
Simon's total self-absorbed silence.
It's devastatingly simple. He hasn't asked her a single thing. Not about her family, the crises, her new rock climbing hobby, her work. Nothing. He just assumes her life has been on pause, waiting for him.
And the word that seals his fate is soul. When he says, "I've laid my soul bare here," it makes it too easy to see what was missing.
And she realizes passion and convenience just aren't enough. She sees the lack of connection, the lack of curiosity, the profound absence of any mutual context. And she chooses self-respect and ends it. Soberly. The fantasy is dead.
So the game continues, but now with certainty. W for wedding. In Vegas, Tom takes her to the Bellagio, a helicopter ride, a gondola proposal that they witness.
It's all high camp romance, but Tom's demeanor shows his real emotional state. They go to a tacky Elvis wedding ceremony, and he laments spending their last night of the game there. He's just impatient for the formality to end and the real relationship to begin.
Then X is for X marks the spot, the first Sunday morning after they finally become physical. Tom is a bit hesitant to talk.
He's afraid of what her expectations might be, but he eventually reveals his letter's meaning. He points to a small mark on her breast and says, "X marks the spot where your heart lives and mine is now lodging."
Which she calls the sweetest thing anyone has ever said to her.
It's the emotional culmination of his entire strategy. He's not claiming her body. He's claiming his place in her emotional center, in her heart, not just her bed.
Why for your place or mine is the decision point. And Natalie takes control. She dresses up, meets Tom in a bar, and admits she was in denial about her feelings.
This is her moment of agency. She uses his champagne glass, the one she'd filled with wine, to mask her tipsiness during their first kiss attempt, to cement their choice. She says, "This time we're going to be sober, all the way through."
No more external pressure, no drunken impulse. She is making an active, conscious choice.
Choosing the man who guided her to self-knowledge over the self-absorbed fantasy.
The journey ends with ZZ for Capo Zafferano in Palermo, Sicily, the future. And on this romantic getaway, Natalie, using this enormous revolting signet ring she bought, she proposes to Tom.
By proposing with the worst possible ring, she's emphasizing that the substance of their commitment matters infinitely more than the symbol. She's confirming their relationship is built on shared imperfection, humor, and depth.
And Tom accepts immediately. The alphabet journey is over, and their life together, built on intentionality, begins.
So when you synthesize all the relational insights from this deep dive, it's so clear. Tom's game worked not because of the activities, but because it forced intentional time, vulnerability, and communication. It broke a 20-year pattern of platonic comfort.
It used structure to achieve an emotional chaos that ultimately led to clarity.
Exactly. And the source material just beautifully defines true, mature love through those parallel crises. You see the difference between Tom's definition, always being present, believing in her, showing up for crises, and Simon's self-serving desire. True partnership is built on shared context and stability. Lucy and Natalie's journeys both involved denial, but only Natalie's ended in happiness because she found the self-knowledge to escape the trap and choose reality over the dream. #outro.
So from A for abseiling, where Natalie proved she could survive, to Z for Zafferano, where she intentionally chose her future, the deepest dive wasn't into the activities themselves. It was into the hidden parts of the heart and the critical difference between comfortable inertia and intentional evolution.
And the final takeaway for you, the listener, really should echo Anna's hard-won realization, built on 40 years of marriage and a near tragedy. If you reach a point where you truly can't imagine a life without that person in it, they're probably the right one. The true measure of a partner isn't how they make you feel when things are perfect, but their unwavering capacity to show up unflinchingly during the toughest moments. That's the bedrock.
So if stability and intentionality really do form the bedrock of lasting love, does that mean every great relationship requires a deliberate period of calculated disruption, like a forced alphabet game or maybe a manufactured crisis, just to break through that comfortable silence and reveal the deeper, more enduring truth? Is the true path to commitment one of structure rather than just accident? Think about that until our next deep dive.